In this video I'd like to have a look at the guidance Adrian gave you in the second workshop about tackling question 3. It's worth 12 marks and you should spend approximately 12 minutes on this question. It's another language analysis question, and you may recall you had one that's very similar on paper 1. In paper 2 you'll be asked to look at one of the two sources, and again you'll be directed to look at particular lines of that extract, and you'll be asked to comment on the way the writer uses particular language techniques to create particular effects. It's worth 12 marks, and that's 4 marks more than the language analysis question in paper 1, and it's actually worth more than question 2 in paper 2. So you may like to consider doing question 3 before you do question 2, because you wouldn't want to miss out on the opportunity to clock up a good number of those 12 marks. Remember that you'll not have the section of the extract copied out for you to look at. So you have to be careful that you refer to the correct section of the extract that you have. So you may want to circle the extract, circle a section of the extract on your insert so you study the correct number of lines. You won't have the bullet points that were in paper 1 to remind you what to look at. The bullet points were words and phrases, language features and techniques. So you won't have these bullet points on the exam paper, but these are the areas that you need to cover. Do you need to plan? Yes, absolutely. As you saw, this particular question is worth more marks than the analysis question on paper 1, so it's well worth planning this particular question. You should read through the target lines of the extract, highlighting any particular key quotes and making notes on particular language features and techniques that you notice. You may recall Adrian recommended using a little table format like this, where you can identify 3 points with quotes, 1, 2, 3, and then for each of those points and quotes begin to explore the technique that the writer has used, and exploring the impact on the reader. Try and choose those quotes that will enable you to say a lot. You need to comment in some detail on the writer's skill in using language, so pick out those particular bits of the text that will enable you to write a fairly detailed commentary. Try to have a balance of different evidence, so don't just choose lots of different adjectives, but think about other language features like similes or metaphors or imagery or repetition, so that you have a range of evidence, and make sure that you use subject terminology as well, particular terms to describe those language features. One of the benefits of drawing up a plan is that even if you don't have time, if you run out of time, if you've drawn up a plan, you may pick up 1 or 2 marks from the examiner, who can see the key points that you are going to make. So this is the extract that Adrian covered with you in the workshop, and he highlighted that particular word, that particular metaphor, and we're going to look at that in some depth. But you could also have looked at other aspects of language use in that paragraph, like these bits of the text, the emphasis on this imagery of the bond that exists between the soldier in the Civil War and his wife, using the imagery of chains and cables, and the strength of that bond, using adjectives like mighty and verbs like bind. Or you might have chosen to look at these particular bits of vocabulary here: gratified, blissful, enjoyed, loved, which illustrate how the writer was wanting to focus on the positive aspects of the relationship that he has with his wife. In actually putting those ideas together into a paragraph, Adrian looked at 3 different versions of a particular paragraph. This was the simplest version of that paragraph. You can see here that that the student has made a point, has put in some evidence there by way of a quote, but hasn't really expanded on that point in any great depth. In the second example, we can see the use of some technical terminology there, metaphor, and we can see that the student's beginning to unpack the effect of that metaphor. And then in the last and more fully formed version of that paragraph, we can see that we have the point. First of all, the writer describes his love for his wife with strong language. Then there's the quote, the use of technical terminology, the metaphor, emotive, implying his love, hyperbole there, another bit of subject terminology. And then here you see what's really, really important is that the student here has kind of unpacked, talked a little bit about his personal response to that piece of text, that particular language technique. So that was a quick look back at question 3, worth 12 marks, and so you should spend 12 minutes on that question.